Funny thing how you can live in a state your entire life and learn things about it that you never knew well into your 60s or older. In February, Sarah and I traveled to Palm Springs, and that's when I learned about the Palm Springs Aerial Tramway. It's not a new feature. In fact, I was 2 years old when it was completed in 1963. But it was new to me. An estimated 20 million folks have taken a ride on it in its lifetime. Unfortunately for us, our visit to Palm Springs took place on President's Weekend, so the crowds were thicker than normal. It took us at least an hour in the queue to get into the parking lot. Then we had to wait in a lengthy line to reserve tickets since the online system wouldn't allow us to book tickets that way. In case you're wondering, tickets are $30.95 per person. It was another hour-and-a-half wait just to get on the gondola. That gave us ample time to check out the plaque, which detailed how the project was dedicated in 1963 with then California Governor Edmund G. Pat Brown. On display in front of the Valley Station is an original cabin that was in use from 1963 to 2000. It's probably the same one ridden by then Governor Ronald Reagan and his predecessor, Pat Brown. The Valley Station looks just as it did when it was completed in 1963 and still straddles a creek running off the mountain. We also checked out the little museum, which included newspaper articles explaining about the amazing engineering feat. Visitors can also touch the sheaves which carry the tram. I also got a feel for the movements of the deflection sheave bearing. After all, I wanted some assurances we'd be safe on this journey. This sample of cable showed us just how strong it is to be able to carry the weight of passengers, the tram itself, and water, since the only way to get water to the top is by the tram. The crazy idea to build an aerial tram began in the brain of electrical engineer Francis Crocker on his 1935 visit to Banning, California. It was hot that day, but there was snow atop Mount San Jacinto, which rises to 10,834 feet. Crocker thought how cool it would be to go up there, but there was no easy way. He came up with a grand idea of a tram, which was declared ridiculous by one newspaper woman who declared it Crocker's folly. Building the tram, however, would require permission by state lawmakers. The state legislature passed 2 bills that would have done just that, but Democrat Governor Colbert Olson vetoed both. Along came World War II, which temporarily interrupted plans while America focused on winning wars on 2 fronts. In 1945, a new tram bill was passed, and this time signed by Governor Earl Warren, a Republican, to create the Mount San Jacinto Winter Park Authority. Building the 5 towers and stations at both ends would be a monumental task, with designs taking shape in the 1950s. No taxpayer funds were used for either the construction or operation of the tramway. Construction costs were covered by the sale of $8.5 million in private revenue bonds. The project faced delays during the Korean War, but the ambitious project began to take form in July 1961. Construction of the tramway was an engineering challenge and was soon labeled the 8th wonder of the world. Helicopters were used to place 4 of the 5 supporting towers. The choppers flew some 23,000 missions during the 26 months of construction, hauling men and materials necessary to erect the towers and the 3,500 square foot mountain station. On one occasion, a helicopter crashed, but no one was killed. Francis Crocker's dream was completed in 1963, with the inaugural ride occurring on September 12th, with Governor Pat Brown and First Lady Bernice Brown on hand. Crocker rode the tramway numerous times, and fellow passengers would often receive a narration from him as they rode up to where it was nice and cool. Francis Crocker died in 1992. In 1998, the tramway embarked on an ambitious modernization program that would see the construction and installation of new cars and an update of its facilities. Beginning in the year 2000, passengers first rode the world's largest rotating tram cars. There have been a number of celebrities who have ridden the tramway that have included Grace Kelly and Prince Rainier of Monaco and their children. Bing Crosby, Gene Autry, Red Skelton, Jim Morrison and the Doors, and Carol Channing have been to the top as well. A number of TV shows were shot using the tramway. The first was in 1967 with the very first episode of the TV show Mannix. There was an episode of Mission Impossible that was filmed here at the tramway in 1971 with actor Victor French, who would later appear in the Little House on the Prairie series. 2 episodes of I Spy were filmed in Palm Springs, one of which included footage of the tramway, and the other included a brief discussion of the tramway. There was also an episode of Columbo filmed on one of the tram cars, featuring Peter Falk, Roddy McDowall, and William Wyndham.
Like those reports of Mr. Quincy's. You could have forged those on his typewriter. And the photograph between Miss Bishop and your uncle? Any good photographer could trick that up. You know, you just do some double printing.
Oh, yeah.
And replace one figure with somebody else's. And even Mr. Quincy's new bank account. That could have been opened by anybody.
Filming of the movie The Wrecking Crew brought Dean Martin, Nancy Kwan, and Sharon Tate to the tram station.
So how long did we have to wait?
Way too long.
3 hours, 4 hours?
From the time we tried to get in,
Yeah,
just in the parking lot alone,
yeah.
to the time that we had to sit and wait
It's about 3 hours.
to board.
Yeah.
12, 1. Yeah.
The space filled up. Take quarters for 10 minutes. Come on in. Go on fit, but you have to make it work. I know it's tight for 10 minutes. Close the doors.
The rotating floor was a bit problematic for us because the selfie-snapping woman standing next to Sarah kept grabbing onto the sides and was sweeping into Sarah until we told her to let go, that the floor was moving.
How is it pushing me into the next person?
Just the floor is moving.
You know, the people are moving into me too. Like we weren't this close a second ago.
We just left the Modernization. Modernization, 2,643 meters close. And in some 11 minutes, we'll step out into a completely different environment. The high country out of San Jacinto State Park and Wilderness.
The 2.5-mile ride takes 10 minutes and rises nearly 4,000 feet up.
And the removal of 1,000 cubic yards of rock. We'll see survey marks, rock face that indicates where rock removal was required. The new cabins are the first in the Western Hemisphere to rotate 360 degrees, travel, and the largest of the planet world. We're now high over Chino Canyon, once the summer home of the Agua Caliente band of Kuwait Indians. Since then, many springs. A 16-foot yellow helicopter platform used during construction and now used during the tram's maintenance period. Additional platforms will be seen on the remaining towers further along our journey. Tram car transitions from the track.
Wait for the reaction of the riders as the car lifts up to pass over the tower wheels.
The original tramway was designed and built by the...
I certainly enjoyed the sensation of swooping close to the rocky cliffs and wondered if this was what the Eagles might experience. The view at the top was amazing and gave us an airliner view of Palm Springs below us. Now compare the development here of the Palm Springs Valley area to this 1960s photo of the same valley. There can be a 40-degree temperature difference between the two stations.
This is what you see at the top.
Also at the top, families were scrambling to play in the snow with plastic sleds. The mountain station was renovated in early 2023 at a cost of $13 million.
This is what you get for free. Basically.
As we were waiting for the ride back down the hill, I was fascinated to watch the 61-ton counterweight doing its magic to keep tension on the haul rope. You have to respect the science that went into this grand system. Now, in case you're wondering, yes, some folks have been stranded on the gondola. During the inaugural year of 1963, one tram car became stuck for 13.5 hours because of an electrical problem in the control room. Only one death has occurred as a result of riding on the tram. It happened in June 1984 when a car headed down the mountain was punctured through the top of the plexiglass window by a 30-pound piece of metal that struck passenger Elaine Seco of Ontario, California, and she later died. In 1985, a flash flood buried vehicles parked in the Valley Station's parking lot in mud and tore up about 3/4 of a mile of tramway road. Stranded passengers had to be airlifted from the area. Thank you for joining us on this episode of History Hunters. On the way out, tell us if you've ridden on the tram and what you thought about your experience. If you could also give us a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel, we would certainly appreciate it. Thank you so much.